Hello friends, my name is Rudo. I invite you into the mesmerizing world of African stories, where the rich tapestry of Africa comes alive through timeless folk tales. Subscribe to our channel. There are exciting stories ahead, and here we go.
For 20 years, Martin and his wife Aisha lived in a quiet house by the riverside in the small town of Kembe. They had been married for many years, but their house was quiet like a grave. No child, no laughter, no baby's cry, only the sound of the river behind their house. Every morning when the sun was still small in the sky, Aisha would walk to the river. Slowly she would kneel down, touch her stomach gently and whisper, "O gods of the land, give me one child before I die." She said it like a song, the same way every day, rain or shine, cold or hot. Her voice was soft but full of pain. Martin would sit behind her, quiet. He no longer begged, he just looked at her and sighed like a tired wind. People in the town started talking. Some would whisper, "Her womb is locked with a padlock." Others would say, "Maybe it's Martin. Maybe he eats his children in the dream." But Aisha and Martin never said anything. They just kept trying. They went from one hospital to another. Doctors checked everything and shook their heads. Medically, nothing is wrong, they always said. Then they started visiting prayer houses. Prophets would pour oil on Aisha's belly, press her forehead and shout, "Fire! Receive your baby now," until Aisha fainted and fell on the floor like a dry plantain leaf. But nothing happened. Only headache and fainting. Next they went to a native doctor. The man's beard was long like a mop, and his voice sounded like thunder. He gave them bitter herbs. This one opened a wound that was drier than breadfruit. "Drink it." Aisha drank. Martin drank. Their mouths twisted like bitter leaf. They believed him, but after 1 month, Aisha's stomach was still flat like river stone. Still no child. Then they were told to bathe at midnight in the river. They carried calabashes, chanted strange words, even walked backward. The moon just looked at them and said nothing. Only hope. And the sound of water flowing like time. In the town of Usna there was a girl called Naomi. Her skin was bright like morning sun. Her hair was long like palm branches. When Naomi walked through the village, even goats stopped to look. Boys followed her with their eyes. Men whispered to themselves. Her friends always said, "Naomi, you are too fine. Ah, if I had your face, I would marry a governor." Even strangers in the market would say, "This one is not a village girl. She looks like city money." Her parents loved her. Her mother cooked for her. Her father bought everything she needed. But Naomi didn't feel it. They would tell her, "Naomi, sweep the compound. Naomi, go and fetch water. Naomi, wash the plates." She would hiss and say, "Am I a house girl? Why are they treating me like a slave?" She wanted freedom. She wanted to dress how she liked, do what she wanted, go where she wished. But at home there were rules. One evening her parents sat talking. They said something simple, "Our daughter." But that small word entered Naomi's heart like a thorn. Her face changed. That night, when everyone was asleep, she quietly packed her things. A small bag, some clothes, her mirror, and her cream. She left a short note by the door. "I've gone to find a better life. Don't look for me." Then she left. Just like that. The cock had not even crowed when her parents woke up and found the letter. They shouted. They cried. They ran from street to street calling her name. "Naomi, Naomi, come back." But it was too late. She was gone like smoke in the wind. Naomi followed the road until her feet ached. But she didn't stop. At last she reached a new town. She didn't know anybody there, but that didn't matter. Her face did the talking. Her beauty was loud, loud like a drum. Her shape made people turn twice. Her walk was like music. When she smiled, men's eyes followed her like flies chasing honey. Women whispered, Who is this one? But they couldn't stop looking. She found a place to stay, a small room but clean. She bought new clothes, short skirts that danced with the wind, tight gowns that showed her shape. She painted her lips. She did her hair. She wore perfume that filled the air like flower scent. And best of all, nobody told her what to do. No one said, "Sweep here." No one said, "Cover your body." She slept when she wanted. She woke when she liked. She laughed every day. She made new friends, girls like her who loved enjoyment. They painted nails, danced to loud music, and took pictures by the roadside. "Now I'm free," Naomi said one evening, looking at her reflection in a car window. Then one day everything changed. She raised her hands and just like that, splash, she threw the baby. The baby hit the water. The river opened its arms. It didn't shout. It didn't fight. It just carried the child away. The cloth floated for a moment, then disappeared into the black water. Amanda wiped her hands on her wrapper. Her face showed nothing, no tears, no fear, just cold silence. She walked back slowly like someone returning from the market. But her mind was not quiet. What will I say? What if he checks the body? What if they ask questions? She wiped her tears, straightened her wrapper, and bit her lips until they turned red again. She stopped near the kitchen door and picked a torn piece of cloth. She dipped it in water, rubbed it on her chest, and smudged a little on her thighs. Then she entered the room. Chief Oduma was sitting up, his eyes swollen with sleep but full of hope. "My queen, is it a boy?" he asked, his voice shaking like an old drum. Amanda paused. She touched her belly like it still carried something. Then she gave a small, broken cry. She covered her face with her palms and sat on the edge of the bed. "It was a boy," she whispered. Her voice cracked. She sniffed and let one single tear fall. Chief Oduma's heart jumped. "A boy? Then, where is he? What happened?" Amanda turned her head away. She shook gently like a dry plant in the harmattan wind. He died," she said. "Just as he came out, he didn't even cry long, he just went silent." She covered her face again and wept loudly now. Fake tears but loud enough to sound real. Chief Oduma's mouth opened wide. He held his chest, then her hand. He didn't question. He didn't check. He believed. His voice was low, broken. "The gods giveth and the gods taketh," he whispered. He pulled her into his arms and whispered again, "We'll try again. He gave me hope once. You will do it again, my queen. My queen." Amanda closed her eyes, resting her head on his chest. But in her heart there was no peace. Because deep down she knew she had not buried a son. She had buried her shame. But the gods had seen everything. And the river was not sleeping. The river moved slowly that night, calm, quiet, like it was carrying a secret. Inside the water, the baby floated, wrapped in cloth. Her tiny hands moved, her mouth crying soft, soft, like a kitten lost in the bush. But the river did not let her sink. No. It carried her gently, like a mother carrying a sleeping child on her back. She passed tall trees. She passed silent farms. She passed sleeping houses. The stars watched her. The wind followed her. The river kept whispering, "Go, go, go." Then just before the rooster could crow, the river reached Faju town. Binta and Johnny were outside their small hut. They couldn't sleep. The night was too quiet. Then wah, they froze. "Did you hear that?" Johnny asked. Binta stood up fast. "That's a baby." They ran toward the river, barefoot, hearts beating like drums. There, near the edge, caught between two sticks, was the baby, cold, wet, crying. Binta gasped. "A baby!" She picked her up, held her close to her chest. The baby stopped crying. She blinked slowly like she knew she was safe. Tears rolled down Binta's face. God has answered me. After all these years, God has answered me. Johnny knelt beside them. His hands trembled as he touched the baby's cheek. "She's beautiful," he whispered. They carried her home, wrapped her in warm cloth, boiled water, and gave her milk. As the sun began to rise, Binta looked at Johnny and said, "We will call her Asanachi, the child we waited for." And from that day, Asanachi became their daughter. The river had taken her once, but now she belonged to love. Years passed like water flowing gently in a calm stream. Asanachi grew fast, tall, smart, and full of light. Her laughter was like music. Her smile, soft like morning dew on fresh grass. Binta and Johnny raised her with love. Real love, the kind that wraps around you like a warm wrapper on a cold night. He fetched water. She swept the compound. She helped in the kitchen. She never complained. "Thank you, Mama," she always said. "Yes, Papa," she always answered. She prayed every morning before the sun came out. She would kneel by the firewood and whisper, "God, use me to help people." The villagers loved her. At the health center, she helped the nurses. She cleaned wounds. She gave food. She sang to crying children. Sick people smiled when she touched them. They called her Asanachi, the one with mercy in her hands. Even the crops around their house grew better than others. "Maybe it's her spirit," the farmers would say. "She brings peace wherever she goes." Children followed her like chicks following a mother hen. Old women blessed her on the road. Boys admired her but kept their distance. Her presence was like light, beautiful but sacred. But Asanachi never knew the story of the river. She didn't know where she came from. She thought she was just a girl from Faju, the only daughter of Johnny and Binta. She didn't know that her name was once thrown away. But light cannot be hidden forever. One day the truth would rise, like the sun. The moral of this tale is simple yet profound. The child you discard today may be the one to save your life tomorrow. Life does not forget. Forgiveness heals, but it cannot erase the memory of wickedness. May we always choose kindness, for the river sees, the river remembers, and destiny always finds its way.